Ever wish a podcast would explain how to get better faster from the standpoint of longevity, biohacking, and personalized functional medicine? Co-hosts Dr. Jason Bradley and James Chester, along with executive producer Rachel Bradley, bring you the Get Better Faster podcast. Their mission is radically simple: to revolutionize health by connecting people with the experts, technologies, and protocols that mainstream medicine ignores. Because people deserve to get better faster.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Get Better Faster podcast. Today, we are joined by Dr. Arianne Missimer, a true warrior in the health and wellness space. She is not just a functional medicine practitioner, a doctor of physical therapy, and a registered dietitian. She's one of only about 2,500 practitioners globally certified through the Institute of Functional Medicine. But what makes Dr. Missimer's story so powerful is that she's walked the path of healing herself. After losing her brother to cancer and then facing her own stage 3 liposarcoma diagnosis, she discovered the missing pieces in our healthcare system and now dedicates her life to helping others own their health. She's been featured everywhere: ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC. She's a cover athlete for Strong Fitness magazine, owns the Movement Paradigm Integrative Health Center in the Philadelphia area, and is a real-life ninja warrior. Get ready to learn how you have the innate capacity to heal. Welcome, Dr. Arianne Missimer.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity for us to host you and to share your story, but also a big part of the Get Better Faster movement is to give people actionable steps and real life solutions to, I know that cancer's a part of everyone's life, but it's also been a part of your life too. And I really believe that the big reason why we started this podcast was to give people opportunities to understand how to combat the big three: diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. And I think big box medicine has been one of those things that gives only a narrow pathway solution. So I'm curious, as we have our conversation today, maybe some ways that you would give advice to people, maybe not doctor advice, but ways that you've helped yourself, that other people can find some solutions for themselves. So I'm really excited about this conversation with you today. But let's talk a little bit about your origin story and how you began this functional medicine career and what it means for you to have that role in the world.
Sure. So as you already mentioned, Dr. J, that I did lose my brother to cancer, and that was it was over 20 years ago. And that was without a doubt the hardest thing that I've ever had to face. But I look back on that moment and realize that he also gave me the greatest gift, which was purpose. I watched every single day he was losing function of his arm, of his leg, and I was his physical therapist at the time. And I watched also his amazing tenacity and his fight for life. And I realized in that moment that so many people are moving through the world and taking their movement and their health for granted. But he was literally fighting every single day for it. And so I realized that that is what I needed to do, is that first, I would never take my health or my life or my movement for granted, but I would also help every single human that I came in contact with do the same. And so it really started me on a trajectory so I went to school for nutrition. I became a dietitian. I opened my personal training studio at 21 years old. And I was seeing all these people come into a fitness setting with pain and injury. So it prompted me to pursue my doctorate in physical therapy. And once again, it was really understanding so much about movement and physical wellness. But then I realized that there was so much more to that, because people were coming into fitness settings with pain, but they also had so much emotional turmoil, as we see all the time in practice. And I then faced my own experience of cancer. So I was diagnosed, as you said, with stage 3 liposarcoma. So someone that is focusing on their health and well-being every single day and doing it for a profession, and then getting one of the most rare cancers. There's only 12,000 cases a year. It causes for a lot of reflection and, really an insight into how maybe my past traumas and things that I've experienced were not necessarily fully processed. And so it really led me down a path of looking into nervous system regulation. So I did everything from my yoga teacher training, still needed more, did my graduate work in mindfulness, still needed more, dove deep into everything about the vagus nerve, still need more, did my somatic training. And then I was going through my own functional medicine journey. And I was trying during treatment actually to seek out a functional medicine practitioner that seemed to be the right fit for me, but didn't really find it at the time, but I did find it afterwards. And going through that, I knew that it was the right thing because I knew that I needed to understand what are the things that precipitated my cancer diagnosis, even though there was no obvious genetic link or there was no environmental link to this cancer. I know better. But through that process, I realized that in that situation was the business of functional medicine, and it was supplements and treatments and IVs and not really listening to my story, my goals, and what was important to me. And I said, you know what, I need to do this better. and I need to do this in a way that the nervous system is front and center of someone's healing, because if we are not safe, we cannot heal, period. And that really pursued or prompted me to pursue my training in functional medicine myself, into opening up my practice. And I can definitely talk a little bit more about that, but really looking at whole body wellness through integrative and root cause medicine, and truly, truly treating the whole person and honoring where they are in their journey.
First of all, that's a beautiful story. And I mean, it's interesting how, I don't know, I'm really into this band called First Aid Kit, and they have a song called My Silver Lining. And they basically say, you know, every darkness has a silver lining, right? I mean, that's the point of the song. And it's hard because so many of us have walked that path and been through what I'm going to call hell, to discover that the system itself isn't really set up to help us get out of that, or the pit of despair. Sometimes I call it the pit of despair. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've seen it where people just cycle and loop and loop and loop in that system. Mm-hmm. And it takes someone like you, it takes someone like these courageous practitioners to say, wait, hold on, something's not working, something's not right. And so stepping out of that and looking at it through a different lens. I want to just touch back on a really important thing that you said. It's full of gravity. You said, if we don't feel safe, we cannot heal. And I think that, when people get diagnosed, I'll use that word loosely. When people get a diagnosis or they've been labeled and they start to research it and they start to get scared and get in that pit of despair and they realize that the system's not going to get them out after months or years, they start to feel, not safe. They start to feel not safe in that system. Can you walk me through how you would approach that with your clients, how you approach this idea of safety and security with your clients to get them into that space?
Sure. So I first educate them on Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory. I feel like that is one of the most valuable assets to someone to help them understand where they are. And it's a great visual. So I show them the pictures, I walk them through it. And just for the listeners today, if we look at that state of social engagement where we're curious, we're safe, we're connected to ourselves, we're connected to the greater world, we're mindful, we're grounded, but physiologically, all of the good things happen. Our immune system is optimized, our ability to relate and connect is, our ability to digest our food. And then as soon as we move into that fight or flight, when we are in our mobilization state, if we're in our flight, we might be worried, anxious, fearful, panicked. When we're fight, we might feel frustrated, irritated, anger, have rage. But then physiologically, our immune system suffers, our heart rate increases, our breathing gets more shallow and sympathetic. We have more more sleep disturbances. Our digestion is poor. So I see all of these people with chronic GI issues, and I can see that they're stuck in that chronic sympathetic state. But then there's the freeze state, so the overwhelm, the dorsal vagal state. And there, I feel like I work with so many people here. And so this state is where we could feel like, I know I should, but you're going through the motions, you're procrastinating, you feel like you are physiologically depleted at that point. That's your trauma response. So if you've been going, and cortisol has been pumping for so long, then at some point your body just can't do anymore. And so being able to first identify those states and be able to see what is happening from a breathing perspective. So I can look at somebody in 2 seconds and see where they are in their nervous system, simply based on their breath. So if I see that they're breath holding, for example, they're going to be most likely more in that freeze state. They don't even know that they're doing that. But if they're in that sympathetic, using all those accessory muscles, then I know that they're going to be more in that fight or flight state. So after being able to identify that, which I always say is the most important part, then I'll kind of walk people through what I call like a 3-step blueprint to nervous system healing. And of course, there's no true blueprint. So I like to just use that as a guide. But if someone is in a freeze state, I always like to think of what we want to do from a physiological repletion standpoint, but also, of course, the emotional and the sensory aspect. So going back to safety, if we can't perceive the world accurately, then we do not feel safe. So when we get into that freeze state, we don't perceive the world accurately. So our sensory information is so skewed. So I love using everything from Naboso technology, small nerve proprioceptive mats and balls. I love using just holding an ice cube. I'll have people put a lemon in their mouth. I'll have them wake up and just gently rub their arms. Very, very gentle things for sensory calibration that they can begin to orient themselves into their body. And then also adding in things like electrolytes so that we can support their nervous system, because that's going to be depleted when they're in that state as well. And the last kind of physical thing I always try to do in the beginning would be protein, is trying to work towards getting them optimal protein, even though that's a journey, but as we all know, to make sure that they're influencing their neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine and GABA. And once I feel like they have kind of established that first step to the best of their ability, then we move more into the autonomic and breath work, because, I think we can all agree with this, is sometimes you feel really anxious and then you try to breathe and then you feel more anxious. So understanding where you are on that map, then you can say, okay, this breath pattern is actually perfect for me versus going into another one. Did you want to say something?
As you're going through this journey, I love the fact that you started being more curious, and then you started doing more certifications and figuring out the next layer. And you start figuring out the baselines for people, the breathing baselines, the sensory baselines, how to find how somebody is functioning just in their normal setting. I guess understanding that, becoming more educated, becoming more curious. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that are just like you at those early stages. They're going to be like, well, I'm curious too. I don't even know what functional medicine is. And can we go and at least tell the audience that people are curious about what this is? Because I think Jason is certified in this functional medicine. You're a functional medicine practitioner. There's so many people out there that are curious about this, including myself. So could you just share with us a little bit about how it differs from the regular medical approach?
Sure. So I would say the regular medical approach is great too. I would be dead if I didn't have it. So I always say it's not an or, it's an and. And I think that's really important, that hopefully the end goal is that we all can work together for the best interest of the patients. And I try to do that every day. But as it relates to functional medicine, it really is looking at root cause medicine and a systems-based approach. So where we're looking at how all the systems are working together versus a symptom-based approach where we're looking to see, oh, you have a headache, let's take a Tylenol. Rather, we're really trying to understand, why do you have a headache? Is it as simple as you didn't drink enough water, or is there's maybe some significant airway dysfunction or mitochondrial issue? And it's really just trying to unpack those layers, but truly treating the whole person. And I think, quite frankly, even in functional medicine, I don't know if that's always happening. I think we've sometimes gone a little bit too far into certain lanes. I think sometimes we just have to zoom out to be able to zoom back in and just say, again, as I mentioned, like, where is this person in this moment on their journey? Because if you go to a normal doctor's appointment, you kind of think, whatever it's for. So I have GI issues. I'm going to go to a GI specialist. And the GI specialist is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're going to look at your GI system. That's what they've been trained to do. So they're not doing anything wrong. And I think it's important for consumers to understand what the expectations are. I say, if you're going to go to your primary care to ask them about all these functional medicine things, that's not what they do. That's not, so you can't go in thinking they're going to do something and be frustrated that they didn't give you the right answer. We have to go in expecting a certain thing and then be able to look outside into this space so that we can support them from a root cause standpoint.
Yeah. And I just want to double down on that too. People, I've been practicing functional medicine for 25 years. I can't believe it. It's a long time. It's a really long time. And it's been such a rewarding career, and I've seen miracles. I mean, we all see miracles every day. And I think, James, to kind of come back and add to what Dr. Arianne said, I always like to say, and I'm going to steal this, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Dr. Tom Colleton, brilliant functional medicine doctor. I love this man. But Tom told me one time a couple of things. Number one, the specialists get so good at knowing so much about a small amount of things that they get better and better about knowing more and more about less and less until they know everything about nothing. And I'm teasing a little bit. And Tom said, because of that, because we sometimes in medicine, we get so focused, like Dr. Arianne was saying, that he said the best functional medicine doctors, and understand this is a hyperbole, but the best functional medicine doctors are all of the ologists of all of the ologies. So, I mean, we have to understand cardiology and gastroenterology and neurology and endocrinology and all the ologies. We have to do all of it because the body, like Dr. Arianne said, is an interconnected, system. If it's like a domino, if we affect one area, it's going to affect all the areas, right? So I like to say that general medicine shines, I think we all agree, in acute care trauma type medicine. I mean, if you're hit by a truck, if you're bleeding out, if you've got broken bones, if you've got a hypertensive moment that you could stroke out, please go get help. If you got an infection that's killing you, please go get help. If you got cancer and need whatever that happens to be, surgery, et cetera. There's like Dr. Arianne said, it's an and, right? What we do, James, is restore function. We find out what's not working. And then through our, interventions and assessments, we like to restore the body back to its proper function. Dr. Arianne, how did I do with that? I'm just curious.
Amazing. And I think that I truly believe we have an innate capacity to heal. And so when we can bring the body back into homeostasis, which is, I really believe truly that's what functional medicine does, then it's magic.
Yes.
Right? Our bodies know.
It's heavy philosophy. The body needs nothing extra in it, simply needs no interference. When we clear the interference, the body self-regulates and self-heals. So when you can identify where those interferences are, whether it's shallow breathing, whether it's not enough protein, whether it's not enough electrolytes, and you start bringing somebody back online, they start to function. And I think that's the functional part of this functional medicine.
No, let's not overcomplicate it. Good job, James. Good call.
I love James's interpretation of what we talk about, because the guy talks like a doctor and someone with a PhD. And he's just so passionate about what we do that he's just learned everything he can. I want to bring it back because I saw James's finger go up and he talked philosophy, and I'm not even going to say the word. But Dr. Arianne, you said a word that I heard. James, did you hear the word she used?
I did.
What is that word, James? Let's talk about it with Dr. Arianne.
Innate intelligence?
Yes. Let's talk about this innate intelligence, Dr. Arianne. What do you mean by that? What is the body has an innate intelligence within it that self-organizes, wants to lead to homeostasis? What the heck does that mean?
So my view of it is that really kind of like what James just said, is that when we start off in the world, whether we are starting off with normal breathing patterns, we are starting off with a healthy nervous system, we are going to have all of these things that happen over the course of our lifetime, whether that is adverse childhood events, whether that's other triggering events, whether that's different foods, whether that's physical trauma, whatever those things, those interferences might be. But the reality is our body innately knows what is homeostasis for us. And so when we can begin to shift our nervous system into that state of safety, when we can figure out why our nervous system is not regulated or why we're not resilient enough to be able to shift back. And resilience is a huge, I'm fascinated with resilience because I think that I am a pretty resilient person, but because of that, I've had to learn the science of resilience and realize that we do have the capacity if we are able to regulate. And where I'll take this in a moment, I won't take it too far right now, but what I have learned is that breathing and airway are the foundation for everything, and then sleep, and then nervous system, and then all of the downstream systems. So if we can't physiologically be in homeostasis, then everything else is affected.
Can I give my quick snapshot on that?
Please.
The way that I would explain it to somebody is innate intelligence is if you cut your finger, you don't have to look at it and tell it to heal. Your innate systems inside your body will heal that cut because they know what to do. Mm-hmm. And when you think about what you were talking about earlier, thoughts, poor thoughts, traumas, as Dr. Jason was saying, and we all know that we're living this toxic soup of a world that the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the food that we eat is full of toxicity. And I think that that's the perfect storm. There's the perfect storm of thoughts, traumas, and toxins within each individual that comes into you. And I tell everybody if they meet Dr. Jason, and as like, it sounds kind of crude, but if you spit, if you pee, and if you poop and you give that to him, he can tell you how to get healthy. And that's what I believe is like, if you start like becoming like the investigator for what is actually going on in the biome of that human, now we can find solutions for how we can improve the thoughts, the traumas, and the toxins. And that's like, honestly, that's the greatest gift of what I believe both of you as practitioners get to do is find somebody that has this corrupt state, and then you can get them back to baseline, and then you can improve upon that. And then they tell all their friends and family about you.
I'm going to add one thing, if that's okay.
Please do.
Just because I see this so often in this space, and Dr. J, I think you can probably appreciate this, is that there are the people that are trying to fix all the time. And whether they've been to 10 practitioners and now they're coming to see you and they've done all the protocols. And so I think that it just also warrants some acknowledgement, because that means they're in a fight or flight. So it's being able to look at it. I always speak to my patients and say, I'll explain that exact thing. You know, if you're trying, what's the next best supplement and the latest and greatest, then you're really not in a place for optimal healing. So I said, I want you to think about, moving in a direction of health and wellness and what is going to allow you to be the best version of yourself.
I fully agree with that. And I just want to come back to and expand on that a little bit. You mentioned adverse childhood experiences and adverse childhood traumas that can, feed into our early nervous system and create, patterns and narratives that aren't necessarily true. Like you said, we filter the world when they're freeze or the fight or flight stage. But I also want to just say, I want to acknowledge that, but I want to just give credence to what you just said, because ACE, sometimes I am recalled adverse clinician experiences. And what I mean by that is, people get clinic hurt. I mean, and what I mean by that is, like you said, they go from doctor to doctor and nobody listens. Nobody listens. Nobody listens. That's what I hear all the time. Nobody's hearing me. But I want to jump back just a little bit further, and then I'll finally get to my question. I want to jump back a little bit further. And you said, you can bring all these functional tests and breathing techniques, and should I take electrolytes? How much protein should I have? And nutrition questions and all this stuff to your I like to call them the RDs, the regular doctors, right? The regular doctors. They're not, and I mean this out of due respect, they're trained to keep you alive. They're not trained in functional labs. They don't know anything about nutrition. They don't know what you should eat other than probably real food. Most of the time, don't eat what your medical practitioner is eating. I'm just letting you know. I mean, no offense to anybody. They're not really trained in going to that depth. And I mean, that's a whole problem with education in schools and all that. And thank God the IFM, the Institute of Functional Medicine, exists to have, their 3-year postdoctorate, training and exams and all the stuff that we have to rigorously go through to say, I am functional medicine certified. I want to just go back a little bit further even to these adverse clinical or childhood experiences. I was at a conference, and I don't remember where, and it was a small conference. And, the father of functional medicine, or the grandfather, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, was speaking. And have you had a chance to hear Bland speak?
Not live, no.
Okay. So just for everybody, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, mentor of mine. I love the man. I've been hanging on every word that he says for, a few decades now. That said, he speaks in, and I'm teasing, he speaks in chemistry. I'm teasing a little bit, but the guy's brain is it's just that way. So darn smart. But he was lecturing one day, and it was to a group of general practice type people and some functional medicine people. And he said something that stirred up the room. And he said, casually, stress, he called it stress, but whatever, nervous system dysregulation. Stress is such a big deal that I think that if the general practitioner is not addressing stress with every single visit in their practice, it's probably malpractice at this point. Okay, now this was 25, 30 years ago, and I've never seen this happen at a conference. People stood up and started yelling, people slamming their hands down. That is not my job. I am a real doctor. That is the job of the psychologist and the psychiatrist. And they were flat out just pissed. They were pissed because he called it malpractice, and they were defending. Fast forward, this is like 25, 30 years ago. Fast forward like 20 years. And I don't know what issue and what year, but the American Academy of Family Practice Journal said, hey, did you know that 80-90% of what's going on in your practice is rooted in stress? And I'm like, wow, it only took like 25 freaking years for them to come all the way around. Nobody vindicating Bland, along the way. But I think that what you're speaking to is there's so much missed in general medicine. There's so much missed. So here's my question. Why do you think these fundamentals, water, diet, nervous system regulation, movement, sleep patterns, community, nutrition, all of that, why do you think these fundamentals are so overlooked in mainstream medicine? And what are the consequences for patients?
Yeah. So I like to think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? That we need rest, we need sleep, we need water, we need food, we need safety, connection. And I think that, again, going back to mainstream medicine, I think that they are addressing, you said it perfectly earlier, that they're addressing acute causes of like, this is what's happening, this is a symptom, and I'm going to address it. So I really believe in my heart that everyone is doing the best possible thing that they can do within their whatever it is, within their scope. But I think with reference to why are all these things happening? Why is there so much chronic disease? I believe that with my whole heart and being that it is so much related to this. And I just think that even in functional medicine, if we just take a step back and just say, somebody doesn't need another supplement. When I was going through functional medicine, I think I don't even know how many I was taking. I fell right into it. I was probably taking 30 supplements at one time. And I was doing a test every time I went in, only to find that one more thing was wrong and one more thing was wrong. To me, that's not root cause medicine, because all that was doing was dysregulating me more, right? I would just finished 6 rounds of the worst chemo you could have. I had 11 rounds of antibiotics. Of course, everything was going to be a disaster, right? So it's being able to, again, look at the human in front of you. And that's what I think medicine should be about. Because if we truly listen with compassion to someone's story, you cannot miss it. You do timelines all the time, right? As soon as you go take someone through a timeline, you can't miss it. It just jumps out in your face of what is someone really truly struggling with.
I think one of the things that we're going back to is finding that missing link and that piece to the puzzle. You say you follow these timelines and you can't miss it. Like if you're trained in what you do and somebody's coming through your pathway of care, you can't miss where they're deficient in, it's very clear. Like if you do the blood panels, you see that they have, not enough iron, or if you check out their thyroid, it shows that they're hyperthyroid, and then you can just start to help them regulate. But I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people don't know. I gave this guy this catchphrase yesterday. He's in the real estate world, but I told him, if people knew what you know, they would do what you do. And I think that that's so clear for what we're talking about today. If people know what you know and what Dr. Jason knows, they would do what you do. That's a big part of this movement, is people just don't know that there's practitioners out there like you guys. And that's what we're doing, is we're giving you guys a bigger megaphone and a bigger platform to talk about what makes it so unique. And I know Dr. Jason wants to jump in here a second, but I do want to like kind of take us forward in our timeline and the book. I know you have a book that you've come out with recently called Rise Up. How does that tie into this conversation that we're having today?
Yeah, so Rise Up is really about my personal journey through all of it, and essentially rising up through mindset, nutrition, and movement. So movement has been something that has been a part of my life since I would say my early, teenage years after my first traumatic event, and I never really looked back. So it's always been something that has truly healed me. And I feel like mindset, as it relates to resilience and nervous system regulation and grit, quite frankly, as well as really trying to focus on nutrient optimization and taking that to be able to build resilience, because I do feel like there is a science of resilience. If you cannot sleep well and you cannot eat well and you have a thyroid disorder and you have all these things that are dysregulating you, there's no way that you can handle a day-to-day stressor, let alone a major life event. And that's what I have learned personally through my journey, which is what I really try to help all of my patients and clients with, in that they can overcome tragedy and they can overcome adverse childhood events. It doesn't mean that anything goes away and it doesn't lessen it, but you can focus on this moment and also moving forward in your life with your best foot forward.
Yes. And I just want to say that's beautiful. And it reminds me of, I'm going to try to quote Dr. Russ Hornstein. I just met him. Doctor from, is he in Portugal or Spain? I just met this guy.
He's in Portugal. He's great.
So wonderful. And he said, I was just talking, and you guys say such cool things so casually. And he said, it occurred to me one day that he was talking about trauma, physical trauma. But it could be emotional trauma. It could be a lot of things, right? He said, it occurred to me one day that people's lives can change in an instant. Like it's with a trauma, like it's just like that. Like it can go from one thing to another thing, just like that. But he said, I was thinking about it, and he goes, as doctors, it's interesting because when we are connecting the dots and seeing the picture and giving them the tools and resources, there is that aha moment with a lot of patients we have where literally they get it. And even though it's not a trauma, it's like a positive thing, their life changes back in the right direction just like that. It doesn't have to necessarily be months and years and decades, of healing. I think that when we start implementing, what the body needs to do, addressing, the physical traumas, the chemical toxins, the toxic thoughts, even when we start addressing that and creating that foundation for our clients, all the other things that we do, whether it be supplements or medicines or surgeries or anything, everything just works better. I appreciate that you're starting right there. The question that I have for you, and I think this is, we sort of skirted around it, and I just want to give more credence to this. You are a brilliant person, and you've helped countless people. And again, you're one of 2,500 globally certified functional medicine practitioners. Connecting the dots, seeing the big picture, listening to your clients, giving them foundational changes that they can make. What sets you and these elite practitioners apart from other people who claim the title of functional medicine practitioner? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I think the first thing with IFM is that it really is the global leader in functional medicine. So I think it speaks for itself in that regard. And I think that going through all of the coursework, sitting for the exam, really is a testament to not me, but you and all of the other providers, that we are really dedicated to this profession and the depth of knowledge that it is providing. Because as you said earlier, that this isn't just looking at one system. We're really looking at all of the systems together. And so to have a very in-depth knowledge about all of that and continuation of it, right? It never ends, is so critical. And I think that a lot of different programs and people getting certifications and health coaches doing functional medicine, if they're not even a licensed medical professional, they should not be doing, from a legal perspective or from an ethical perspective, doing medical lab interpretation. They should not be doing medical nutrition therapy. And so I think that the certification, again, just really speaks to itself in terms of the depth and breadth of what they are teaching and training, and that it truly is the global leader.
It is. And I just want to say, I don't know about you, but I'm going to out myself. I remember when I took my certification exam, and I don't know, I saw your eyes, right? So, yeah, and I did one of the like study group type things that the IFM organized. Thank God I did. Thank God I did.
I did not do that. I should have.
Oh my God. So I went to this test, and I remember sitting in the testing center. It's a proctored exam for everybody. It's like a regular medical exam, right? It's proctored. You're at a computer screen. And this is what happened to me, Dr. Arianne. I started to, and I'm gonna tell you, I graduated summa cum laude, third in my class. I've got accolades galore. I've got 3 doctorate degrees, a master's degree, 3 or 4 board certifications. And I sat taking that test, and I walked out, and my lovely and more amazing than any of us wife, Rachel, she said, "How did it go?" And I said, "This is what it felt like." And I'm seeing your face. I said, take all the ologies that you could imagine, like I mentioned, and have the top professors in the world standing there asking you questions that you sort of understand, and then laughing at the 4 choices they gave you as a multiple choice exam, or whatever, six whatever choices. Because literally for me, it was not a straightforward fact like, 2 plus 2 is 4. It was like, in the theory of 2 plus 2 equals 4, what's the next best answer? And that's what the whole test was like for me. And so I did not think I passed. And there's a massive fail rate that Dr. Arianne's not saying. There's a massive fail rate for people that try to take this exam. That's why there's only, here we are 25, 30 years later, there's only 2,556 of us worldwide today that have passed this exam. It's so flipping hard. That was my experience. Dr. Arianne, what do you think?
Yes. So it was by far the hardest exam I've ever taken. And my added benefit was that it was, it's proctored. And so the computer shut down midway.
Oh my gosh.
And I almost had a heart attack. I said, "You've got to be kidding me." And I walked out, and I was trying to be so calm. And I said, "Can you please figure out what's happening?" And they couldn't get it back on. So I was starving, and I had all of these list of questions that I had to go back to, let alone finish the second half. So 45 minutes later, they get it back on, it comes up, and I was so hungry, and I was like, "I'm going to do this." And I did it. And I again did not think I passed, because how would I pass with all of that happening? But I did. And it was the best feeling in the entire world, because it was by far the hardest exam I've ever taken.
I feel so vindicated, because I've said this to people, and sometimes people look at me like, "It wasn't that bad." And I'm like, "What test did you take?" Like,
okay. I'm with you, Dr. J. I'm with you.
Well, I just want to clap for both of you. I mean, come on now.
Thank you.
Come on now. Like, hearing the war stories, it's real. Like, that's the thing, is like, now people have access to you. And I think that's one of the coolest things is tried and true, your curiosity and your resilience and your passion to help more people really shows. But you had to help yourself first. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways here for me is anybody out there looking for solutions, find somebody that's tried and true that took that damn test.
and passed. That's the important part. You can know, I'll just say this right now for people wondering, like, how do I find a real functional medicine provider? You can go to ifm.org or functionalmedicine.org, maybe even functionalmedicine.com, but definitely ifm.org. And you can type in where you are and look for providers and whatnot. And I know Dr. Arianne's on there. I'm on there, and some really great people are on there. So I just want to say that. I want to shift a little bit because you are, James said, these are real warriors, that have plowed through, but you're like a real warrior. You're in fact an American Ninja Warrior. I want to hear about this experience because I love that show. And in my head, as my, weekend warrior dad bod, I'm like, I could do some of that. Not all of it. Some of it I know flat out there's no way I could do. I know my arm hanging, like I'd maybe have like 15 seconds if I'm lucky, but I got to know all about the American Ninja Warrior. Like, tell me about the process. How did obviously fitness played a big role in that. Nutrition played a big role in that. Tell me about this experience. I want to hear all about it.
So it was, so 2 months before my wedding is when I got diagnosed with cancer. So I was, kind of like, okay, like this is terrible for the first few weeks. Then my motto became challenge accepted. Just ironically, this had nothing to do with cancer, which is funny. There was this local ninja gym that opened up, and I said to myself, just in my mind, I was just kind of talking through things with myself. I said, I think I'm going to check it out. And if everything seems to just line up, I think I'm going to start training. So I walk in, and he's the best. Mark Falcone is the owner. And so I said, hi, I'm Arianne. It's nice to meet you. I'm going through cancer treatment. I was bald. So I'm going through cancer treatment, but I want to start training for an American Ninja Warrior. And he said, okay. He's like, great, let's start Tuesday. So I went through, I was like in chemo at that time when I would go to radiation and then right afterwards go to the gym, train, and did it literally through my entire treatment. My last day of chemotherapy, I submitted my video, my application, and then 4 months after, like you find out right before the show starts. So a month before or so, found out I was on, and it was literally the best day in the whole world because obviously the most important thing was I beat cancer, but then standing among the fittest people in the country was just simply unreal. So it's crazy because you compete in the middle of the night. I know not a lot of people know that, but so 3:00 in the morning is when I did my run. And it was great. I mean, I didn't do great. That was when they had added the rope swing to the platform. So I did the Quinn steps. I was super excited about that because I had a tumor in my leg and I was so worried about, something happening, of course. So I did that, did the rope swing, got to the log drop, and that's when it didn't work out.
It looks not only challenging, but it looks fun. Like it just, like I said, I would last no seconds on that, but I still want to go and try it out. Like if they just had, I know there's ninja gyms, but if they just had an amusement park that was just the ninja run, I would just go do that for days on end.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, and everyone was so kind and fun and supportive, and it's incredible.
Well, one of the things I want to share with everybody that's watching or will listen to this or watch this in the future is take care of your health and your body as you're going through the transition of a challenge in life with your health. Like, I can't stress that enough to people. You have to be moving while you're healing, and you have to be resilient as you're being diagnosed. And you have to know that you are going to beat, and you have to succeed, and you have to keep the mind strong and not submit, and move your body while you're healing. And I think that those things need to be heard, and they need to be, blasted from speakers. Is when you find out something's going on really challenging with your health, your mind, your body, whatever it might be, move your body as you heal. And I think that was one of the takeaways I had from you talking about. You had a bald head, you go into Ninja Warrior training, and you had a tumor on your leg, and you're still saying, you know what? If I don't do this and I don't challenge myself, I don't win. And I think that's one of the greatest takeaways that I've ever learned from a guy that's inspired me named Les Brown. Les Brown said, it's not over until I win.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big takeaway for people from our conversation today.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we kind of stopped at step 2 of the healing your nervous system, but with step 3, I always say is movement, because to be resilient, you have in your mind, you have to be resilient in your body. When we begin to feel fragile and we feel like everything's going to hurt us, then there's no way that we can feel safe in our body, which then leads to further dysregulation. So I could not agree, and I say that it's some version of that every day.
Don't go lay down, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I think also like something I've noticed and something Rachel and I talk about with our clients, and I'd be curious about how, I'm sure you see it too, and I'd be curious about how you approach it. Because what we're talking about, in my humble opinion, is identity. And I think that sometimes people that have been suffering, often, not sometimes, almost all the time, when people have been suffering for a long time and don't have answers and don't see a solution, they really start to identify as that either diagnosis or that's just the way they are, you know.
It's in my genes.
Yeah, it's in my genes. You know, my dad was overweight, my mom was overweight, they both died of cardiovascular disease. I'm going to die too of cardiovascular disease. You know, I mean,
fixed mindset.
And there's nothing you can do. So what we've done with our clients, we have them do some exercises right up front, where we are like, define your why. Like, why do you want to be, you know, why is this important to you beyond just like, I want to feel better? Like, who cares? Like, why do you want to feel better? What are we going to do with that? But then we start to have them vision cast a little bit. Hey, it's 6 months from now or a year from now, and we have a magic wand and you feel great. Who are you? Like, define basically what's your new identity. And we challenge them on that quite a bit, because I think that when we can help, at least what we found, we can help our clients break from that, I don't know how to say this, but this identity that they feel broken. I mean, they're not broken, but they feel broken. They feel hopeless. They feel helpless. And to give them hope, help, vision, you know, light at the tunnel, it changes everything. I'd love to hear your opinion on identity, and then some strategies folks can maybe utilize today to start breaking some of those. I'm going to call them loops. I call them loops all the time, but the ruminations, the thoughts, the obsessive thoughts, the narrative that we have that I'm broken, I can't get better, no one can help me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I love what you're doing, and I love anything where you're reprogramming the subconscious mind. And I will always kind of explain that a little bit, as 99% of your mind is subconscious. So all your thoughts and your actions and your beliefs and your patterns. And so if we can begin to shift that to the best version of you, like you said, like kind of that vision, like who do you want to be? I think that that's so valuable. And I do a slightly different version of that, but really kind of the same thing, and helping them be able to reframe even in the moment of if they say something like, I'm always going to be this way. I feel like I can't get out of pain. Then just saying, I am doing everything I can in this moment to not be in pain, for example, and just being able to reframe like throughout the day, because I think just even that awareness of it allows people to shift their physiology. But as we know, like being able to utilize all of the senses and the visuals and what it smells like, what it feels like, is really what's going to be able to shift them into that optimal state of being.
I have to jump in, because what Dr. Jason was like referencing into, and what you're talking about directly, was he was talking about open loops, and what I call them is cycles of action. And when you close a cycle of action, you can go to the next thing. And one of my mentors, Larry Goodman, would always tell me, if you go out of sequence or something, you have to go back and repeat that sequencing again and again and again. And that's the subconscious that you're talking about, is these cycles of action never get closure. And what you're also talking about, I believe, is what I call educated intelligence, is when you start to work with the innate inside of the human body, which is inborn, working with the universal intelligence, which is God outside of the body, above, down, inside out, that method of healing. Now we take this person, we start closing these open loops and completing these cycles of action. And now we get the educated intelligence, giving permission to be great, giving permission to heal, giving the body the chance to have the fighting chance to go on to that next thing, which is whatever you want to call it. Is it life? Is it movement? Is it happiness? Is it success? Like, you label it now. They label it.
I'll take all of that. Thank you.
Yes.
Wait, is there a pill I can take?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure someone will give you one.
but that's what it inspires me to think about. Like, no one's going to do your push-ups for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to do them in your own. And the person that you're against day to day out is the one looking at you in the mirror. And that's the only person you have to be better than.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to give that person permission to be great. Because if you sit there and you have the poor me, the why me, and you don't have the big why, like Dr. Jason was saying he does with his patients, they have to find the big why. You have to find that. And I think that that's one of the big benchmarks to somebody actually going in and getting care from somebody that's certified in your guys' certification to actually improve. They have to want it. You know, I worked in a clinic for 6 years as a traction tech, helping people do posture rehab therapy. And one of the things that I learned on day one is we're going to care more about these people's health than they will.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you feel that burden. I'm sure Dr. J feels that burden. But the thing is that everybody wants help. They just don't know where to go or who to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And they just don't know that it's called functional medicine. They just don't know it's called breathwork. They just don't know what it is and how they get to that point in life. So I think that, once again, back to the benchmark of this conversation today, is there's a lot of people out there that need what we're talking about. I do want to kind of close out this like rant with like a question. When it comes to what you do, I want to speak directly to the women out there. You know, I think you're a strong, courageous, accomplished, educated woman that's helping a lot of people. Movement wise, let's talk about why that's so important for women, specifically as they age, because I know biohacking's big. I know longevity is a hot topic, but why is it so important to keep movement in the body as women go through the years of life?
Yeah, so I think, of course, this is a hot topic, and I think that everyone that I would be working with individually, I might give a slightly different answer to as it relates to where is their appropriate starting point. So I'm going to try my best to address everyone. One is starting where you are, because as we know, movement from a lymphatic standpoint, movement from a nervous system standpoint. So if someone goes out and walks every day, they're going to get tremendous benefits in those areas cognitively. But they might not be able to go to a gym. They might not be able to work with a trainer. They might not have the capacity or the ability to in that moment. And I think that's okay. I think appreciating and like helping people where they are is so important, because right now, of course, I believe in strength training more than anyone does. And I want everyone to strength train, right? Everyone. But I also recognize that sending someone to a gym or with a trainer can be super overwhelming. So my first step is having people really start where they are and have them walking. If they can walk, then we might add a little bit to that. Maybe it's isometric strength, for example. So them just teaching them how to do things that they can develop a little bit of resilience in their body. They can develop some fascial tensioning. They can give better input to their brain, but it's not going to overwhelm them and it's not going to create injury. Because as soon as we step to that point of fear and potentially pain or injury, then they're going to be frustrated and go right back to the beginning. And so I think it's really necessary for all of us as healthcare providers to help guide people just slowly and safely and in a very supportive way to a journey of movement. And if they get to strength training, which I'll touch on, that would be amazing because of all of the benefits of muscle mass, of bone density, of once again, resilience, of just being able to move through the world and do what they want to do. Because I think that movement is life is movement. And so if we are sedentary, we're sitting in a couch all day and we're never going to be able to do the things we want to do. So fast forward 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we can't go play with our grandkids. We can't go take a walk. We can't hike. We can't travel. And so I think appreciating that movement is life is going to be the most important mindset. And then starting where you are to begin that journey.
Well, I think that this is some really good stuff for people that are out there that want to start getting healthy and start where they are. Vitality. It's so important for people to know that vitalism is the course of action for everyone. Mm-hmm. And the more that you eat healthy, the more that you move your body, the more that you have healthy thoughts, the more vital you will be. I talk to people all the time. Something you might not know about me, Dr. Arianne, is I've scheduled over 11,000 people into the chiropractic profession as patients. And I tell people all the time, I've never met anybody that's taken more drugs or had more surgeries that's more vital.
Yeah.
I've only met people that take care of their body through full body wellness and health that have more vitalism. And I think movement and what you said, getting stronger, better bone density, better vascular work, making the heart stronger, making the lymphatic system stronger. Like those are the things. And once again, I think I'll just go back to this time and time again. Don't go lay down and be in sedentary. Like comfort's where people go to die.
I was going to say too, I mean, and this is a tough one. I'd love to hear Dr. Arianne's comment on this next observation. I'm thinking of someone specifically, but it could be any number of people. I'm sure we all hear this. Movement is important. We got to move in his life. But I hear from some people, I can't really even go on a walk because of fill in the blank, my ankle, my knee, my back, my weight, my this, my that. A lot of times and I mean this out of just due respect, a lot of times I hear it from people that are carrying a little bit more weight. I mean, it happens with everybody, but I hear it more commonly from people carrying a little bit more weight. And then they'll say, my knee hurts, or crazy things like, I injured my ankle 40 years ago and I can't walk. It's like these identities. Like I injured my ankle and I can't walk, and that's why I'm overweight. And I'm just like, boy, we need to move, And I have sometimes I have a hard time bridging that belief system of I can't do it because of especially pain. It's especially pain.
Yeah.
How can we walk people that are like you said, we got to meet them where they are, but it hurts to move. Yeah. What do we do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that as it relates to chronic pain / identity, right? So it's kind of like, yes, it's their story that they've been telling themselves for 20, 30, 40 years. Using all the things that you talked about earlier and I spoke about is just helping them reframe their story. What is their new story? Where do they see themselves? But also respecting the physical nature and the emotional nature of the chronic pain itself. So being able to say, perhaps they are in this freeze state, they're in this dorsal vagal shutdown, and they have mitochondrial dysfunction. They are not perceiving there's no tissue damage at this point. However, their brain is still perceiving pain. So we still have to be able to identify that aspect of it, whether that is through the functional medicine lens of hydration and electrolytes and all the things. But also, working as a physical therapist too, I always say that we still have to address the mechanical piece is that, especially if we're talking, let's use the ankle, for example. I love feet. If we're thinking of foot to core integration and how we're able to have sensory input from the ground every time we strike, then if we perceive that accurately, then we're going to influence our emotional center in our brain. We're going to have better safety, right? So it's like if we can start to retrain that and recognize, and that also helps the patient or the client also realize that like, okay, yeah, you know what? They are listening to me. Like this ankle is a big deal and it's been part of their life for 40 years. So we need, and part of their story for 40 years. So we do need to address that and reprogram it because there's no doubt there's mechanical issues associated with it too.
Mm-hmm. And I love this and like bridge for us. Yeah. Jason loves the and bridge also. And I want to tell people like, say you have a shoulder injury. The exercise bike still works and so do your legs. So you have an ankle injury, the bench press still works and so do your arms.
Right.
So I think that we have to also understand that you have to like move other parts of the body to get the other part of the body stronger. It's not just like a different component that's somebody else's, it's yours too. Like the other parts of your body are still functioning and the stronger you make them, the quicker other parts of your body will heal. That's a part where most people kind of like forget to talk about.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, I just wanted to add something else too, if that's okay, is that through looking at it through the somatic lens. So whenever I'm guiding someone through practice, if they feel a physical sensation, so they feel tension, they feel pain, I will perhaps ask them, is there a belief? Is there a thought? Is there emotion? Is there a judgment associated with that? There may not be, right? Or there could be that they just have shoulder pain. But either way, using that gentle curiosity allows them to explore it and be able to determine maybe there is something to this that I need to explore even further. And I think also having the guidance to do it in a graded manner. So anybody that has chronic pain, the literature is super clear on this. It needs to be graded. It can't just be like, oh, let's go to boot camp tomorrow. So having someone guide you on where to start, like, okay, you can't walk, but you're right, you could use a recumbent bike. Like being able, but people don't know that. And that's understandable too. Like they don't realize that's not going to bother their ankle, you know?
Once again, why we're smashing people's limiting belief systems. And I believe one of the things you're talking about here is called, Thurman Fleet called it concept therapy. Find people where that original thought happened, take them to it, and then get them to move past it into the next phase of life. And I think that's the most brilliant thing about what we're talking about is it gives people a new looking glass to see themselves in. Not only themselves, but their loved ones. And not if you're a doctor or a functional med doc and you're listening to this, or you're a chiropractor, you're a PT, and you're like listening to this and you're this far down the interview with us and the conversation that we're having today, like these are the solutions that nobody's talking about. These are the pathways to actual full body healing and full body health and wellness that people aren't having conversations about. And that's why when I was on top of the mountain, I reached out to Dr. Jason Bradley and I said, hey man, we need to start a podcast movement called Get Better Faster and have geniuses from all around the world talking about something that they're passionate about, because nobody else is giving them a platform to talk about the things that we can discuss. And it's going to set the standard for the future to bring people together like you with all the other geniuses that we connect with and all the other healers that we connect with, because people are definitely looking for what you guys are talking about today.
I wanted to say too about smashing limiting beliefs. I love that idea. And I wanted to share a real practical story that I think maybe we can all relate to. It's a kind of a tragic story, but I have a good friend, Dr. Mike, and he's Canadian, and he's a brilliant natural medicine doctor. He was doing some consultations on oncology, and he was flown to Minneapolis to consult on a case. And the gentleman that had cancer, was wherever he is, and the daughter of the guy picked my friend, Dr. Mike, up at the airport, and they were driving to the hospital. And oddly enough, during that drive, there was a high-speed chase through Minneapolis, and the guy T-boned right into the car they were driving. The driver, the female, died instantly. Mike was not left in a good space. I don't know what happened to the dad. I don't know. I don't know that part of the story. But Mike, Dr. Mike, found himself unable to move at all below his neck. And doctor came in at the hospital and said, hey, this is what we've determined. And with your type of injury, I doubt, we got to be preparing that you're probably not gonna be able to move. And, however doctors deliver that stuff. Dr. Mike said, hey, I know neurology. We can't say how I'm going to be in 6 months or a year until we get to 6 months or a year. There's a lot of rehab that we can do. And Dr. whatever your name is, the guy, he's like, Dr. Mike said, I promise you, I'm going to get better so that I can stand up and kick you in your balls for telling me that just minutes after I can't move. So Dr. Mike finds himself, he's able to, he's working hard. He's in a neurological rehab center. He's doing everything that you could imagine full time. That's his job, getting better at this point. And he winds up in a wheelchair to start with. He ends up getting the upper part of his body pretty quickly, even though he was told he wouldn't. And coming back to, recumbent bikes and all these things, he can't walk, but he knows he needs to move. So that guy would sit there and do Tabata hits, like punching just like this all day, like doing whatever he could do to move his upper body. Certainly he was doing strength training too, but just trying to get that cardiovascular movement so that he could, keep that movement going. Anyway, I'll fast forward a little bit. He's still working on walking, but I've seen him up. Granted, he's using the bars now, but I've seen him taking steps. And I truly believe, because he refused to accept the identity of someone that's going to be a quadriplegic for the rest of their life. I truly believe he is going to walk, and I truly believe he will kick that doctor where it counts. I know him well enough to say that. So I think that, talking about identity, and it's such a, we doctors, we have to be careful about what we tell people. They've done studies where we've accidentally said the wrong thing, and then people identify with that diagnosis and they can die.
Their whole life.
It's crazy. Anyway, I just wanted to share that anecdote with Dr. Mike, because here's what I always remember. If he can do it, whatever's going on with me, people can do it. Like, there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way. That's what I'll leave that as.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I transition a little bit into media?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I know you're a TED Talk speaker. From your introduction, I know you've been on mainstream media also. I have not watched your TED Talk. If I will watch it, I'm really more inspired now after our interview today. But being an author too, so books, TED Talk, and mainstream media. Talk a little bit about how that's helped you with your career and the differences between, I guess, cult classic media like a TED Talk and mainstream media like the big networks.
Yeah. So I think doing the TED Talk was really my first big, we'll say, media connection. And I think that was the most authentic thing that I've been able to do. It was one of the most healing things that I've done, because I was able to really dive deep into my own story and summarize that in 10 minutes. And so it was a really, really great reflection, but it also changed the trajectory of my whole career. So that was when I decided after that I was going to leave my outpatient practice and open up my multidisciplinary center. And it just really led me on a really amazing path. And so then going to more of the mainstream media outlets, I think I definitely feel much more comfortable now because it's allowing me to share my message in different ways. So my goal has always been to reach more people and reach more people and reach more people and help them believe that no matter what they're going through, whether it's any type of chronic or complex health issue or pain, that they can truly thrive. And that's really my mission and purpose. So every time I enter something, whether I'm talking about breathing and airway, I just talked to, hundreds of people this past weekend at a conference, and it was all clinicians, which was amazing because now they're all going to help all of their patients. But whether it's that or it's doing something like, doing a Fox news channel, it's still the same purpose and mission. So I just always look at it through that lens.
Well, I thank you for sharing, because I know there's a precursor to the bigger vision that we all have. Mm-hmm. And I was really curious to see what came first, the chicken or the egg. And it sounds like the TED Talk came first, inspired you to move into new directions, opened up more opportunities for you. Probably it's the precursor to the book.
Yep. And the book was really also the most healing thing I've done personally. Even though I set out to do it to really inspire other people, I felt like that was without a doubt the most healing thing I've ever done, more so than even the TED Talk. I think they were probably compounded, but it definitely was emotional for sure to be able to work through all of the things that had happened that I had clearly repressed and didn't realize it. But I think it was really helpful to work through it and share it in a way that hopefully can inspire other people.
Well, your resiliency in your story today really are a cycle of action for me and for our listeners. I really believe that if people just give themselves the opportunity to go get what they want, they can have anything they want. Mm-hmm. And whether you're not feeling well, as you talked earlier and how I kind of, mentioned, don't go lay down when you're sick. But also, I also want to acknowledge people. It's important to sleep. Okay. Like make sure you're getting your sleep at night and do that peacefully, and make sure you're resting in this journey too. I'm not saying go do 75 hard while you're going through chemo. And not
right. Not everyone needs to do what I'm doing, what I did.
Become a ninja warrior.
Not everyone needs to do that.
Yeah. But I think the grit and the resilience to your story, it's going to touch lives. And I think it's kind of one of those fantasy things out there that people want to write a book. I think it's one of those fantasy things that people want to get on mainstream media and talk about their careers. I think it's one of those fantasy things that people want to do a TED Talk. And everybody wants to be an influencer, but they have to influence themselves first. And I think that that's one of the biggest takeaways from having you on our show today is you can do anything you want to in this world, but you have to do the work to yourself first. And then when you become the educated intelligence, you can touch a lot of lives. But you have to become that person in order to do the thing and have that big why and go and do the subconscious reprogramming. Go and do the analysis of what we eat, what we think, and how we behave. Like all those things, what you demonstrate is who you become. And I believe, Dr. Arianne, what you've done is demonstrated who you are and you become who you're supposed to be. And now you have the journey to go out there and touch millions of lives. And that's the vehicle of excellence, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, James. That means a lot. Thank you.
Jason, do you have more info or more ideas?
Well, I just love our conversation today. I just want to say that, and I've had such a thrilling conversation. I want to just touch really quickly on your background, the movement paradigm clinic that you've created, right? Your sign in the back. Mm-hmm. Tell us about this integrated clinic. Tell us about it. I want to hear all about what do you do? Tell us a day in the life at the clinic.
Yeah, so we offer functional medicine, holistic physical therapy, and nervous system regulation. So I own the center. So we also have a somatic therapist. We have personal training and psychology. We have yoga. So we've really tried to again, focus on whole body wellness through integrative and root cause medicine. So even if that isn't with us per se, if they come in the lens through functional medicine, if they come in the lens through holistic physical therapy, we're typically rotating them around to make sure that they get the best treatment possible. And so we have a lot of different subsets. So we do visceral mobilization, we do pelvic floor therapy, craniosacral, so a lot of different osteopathic techniques as well, and just really try to integrate into full body wellness.
I think that's amazing. And I'll just speak from experience here. Rachel and I had, for Iowa anyway, a pretty large integrated medical clinic that we owned and directed. And I'm just going to say this, and we did great work and all of that stuff. Having providers, like if I'm their director and trying to organize them, it's like herding cats. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you keep them all together. There was a reason in 2019 pre-pandemic that I was like, you know what, I think I'm just going to go online and not try to organize the whole thing and just kind of do my functional medicine virtually. I'm impressed that you put this together. I know what it takes. We talked a little bit about the business of medicine. It is just for everybody that's not, an entrepreneur, doctor, book writer, ninja warrior. I mean, all these things that somehow sleeps, 7 to 9 hours a night. And I don't know how you do that. The amount of effort, time, energy, resources, stress, worry that goes into running a clinic like you've created. I just want to say thank you for doing it. I mean, nobody really realizes what really goes into it. When people see you sitting at the top and they're like, oh, she must have it easy. But it's like, I mean, Jim's wearing the gritty hat. I mean, the grit that it took to get there and the grit that it takes to keep it running. Holy shit. Like, I'm impressed, Dr. Arianne. Yeah.
Thank you. But I love it. I feel so blessed. And there was so many things that got me to this point that I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. So it's more of a feeling of gratitude rather than a feeling of stress. But you're right. Not to say there aren't ups and downs. It's just that it truly is a place of purpose. So
yeah, no, it's beautiful.
And Dr. Rachel had a question. Could you remind us the steps for healing the nervous system again?
Sure. Yep. So the first is sensory calibration and physiological repletion, such as things like electrolytes and protein. The second step is going to be more of the breathwork and autonomic balance. So this can be everything from breath holds, so working on CO2 tolerance, to basic breath strategies such as things like paced breathing, coherent breathing, extended exhalation, vagus nerve exercises. And then the third step is really going to be the movement aspect and resilience. So loading those patterns, whatever they may be, and just really beginning to build a resilient body so you can have a resilient mind.
I want yes to all of that. And I just want to just plant this seed today. I want to, and I mean, we could be here for hours, right? I mean, it's like, how do we unpack all your genius in like, you know, an hour to an hour and a half, right? It's going to be hard. I would love to have you back on and chat more about breath work. I see a lot of people with mast cell, histamine issues, mast cell, dysautonomia, autoimmune conditions. I mean, that's my milieu of my clients, right? And I'm fascinated with breath work and how it can modulate the activities of mast cells and the release of histamine, like just breathing in the right way, oxygen, cycling between oxygen deprivation and then, you know, full breathing, full belly breathing and chest breathing. I'm fascinated by this stuff. All of that said, there's so many breathwork techniques. I know we have way too much to unpack there in the next few minutes, but I would love to hear, and again, I know it's specific, but if we had to say, hey, general audience, if you're not doing breath work right now, you should be. Or I don't like should, you could be, and it probably would help a lot. Dr. Arianne, what is, if they can only remember one type of breath work universally, tell our listeners what they can do. Like
I will promise I'll do one, but let me just give a couple cues to get the one right. Okay. So if everyone is listening or watching, if you bring your tongue to the roof of your mouth right behind your top teeth, you feel this little tiny bump. That's called the incisive papilla. So that's the spot. That's where the tip of your tongue should be 100% of the time, but the rest of the tongue should also be gently suctioned to the roof of the mouth. If we can get our tongue there, then we are going to optimize our airway function. If the tongue posture falls mid-mouth or low on the bottom of the mouth, then we're blocking our airway. So then the second cue is to think about, instead of breathing straight back, to think about breathing on the angle of our nose. So as you breathe in, your abdomen is expanding, feeling that 360-degree cylinder versus the neck and the shoulders rising. So when you're breathing in, what I always start everybody with is 2 seconds in, 2 seconds out. So a paced breath. And as they feel comfortable, if they can breathe in for 2 and breathe out for 2 with nasal breath, with nice abdominal expansion, then they can extend it to 3 seconds. And if they can do 3 in, 3 out, then they can extend it to 4. Then they can do 5. 5.5 is the sweet spot of where we can improve our optimal heart rate variability or nervous system regulation. So I always start people with paced breathing and then begin to expand from there. So if they can do that, then I know that they could potentially work towards extended exhalation. But once again, it's meeting yourself where you are in the moment, because we might say 5.5 is the sweet spot, but James, you might say right now it's 2 seconds. And Dr. J, you might say it's 4 seconds. And I might say it's 6 seconds, right? And then we could all change in 5 minutes. So being able to not cause anxiety for yourself while you are trying to breathe is so important, and create safety in your nervous system through your breath.
Go ahead, James.
What it did for me is my attention span. I'm sitting here trying to breathe for 2 seconds and 2 seconds, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be talking to her.
I got lost in my own meta-analysis of where does my tongue usually lay when I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I'm now fascinated by it. How can I know what my tongue's doing if I'm not thinking about it? Because I got to think about it. Thank you, Dr. Arianne. This is a loop in my head.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah, I know.
and how can I breathe at an angle? I was thinking that one too. I'm like 2-2 breathe angle, 2-2 breathe angle, and I'm like, hold on, I'm supposed to be talking here.
But I think one of the take homes for me from this whole conversation, really to boil it down, health doesn't have to be complicated. We can return to things like remember to breathe. Fill your body with oxygen, fill your body with nutritious food. Practice whatever we're doing with nervous system regulation. There's so much there. That's another thing that we can talk about. Move every day. Strength. Drink water. Take electrolytes. Eat protein. It's funny because you sound like myself. Like I said, I don't know. I don't even want to admit, and I think you're the same way, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I have invested into what's between my ears to be able to tell people, I think you need to drink more water. You're a little dehydrated. If it's box can wrap packaged or processed, maybe just eat some real food. I mean, it's like, it's insane. I mean, granted, it's the arc of getting there to understand why we're saying it, but it doesn't have to be hard. And I love both the complexity of what you're doing, but the simplicity of application. I mean, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. James, you look like I cut you off, sir.
No, I just think that having the conversation we had today is very valuable. I think, having some laughter involved in the whole process too it makes it more fun for everybody involved. And I know that there's been some comments going on throughout the day. I just want to give anybody that's on the opportunity to ask any questions towards the end of the conversation today. But I also wanted to ask you a closing question. Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
I think we covered a fair amount. I just think that Dr. J really just said it perfectly, is that it really doesn't have to be overly complicated to improve your overall well-being and be the best version of yourself. So I think that as we've talked about a lot today as it relates to identity, I think that we can change our story and rewrite our story, and one of resilience that can navigate anything that life throws your way if we focus on our health and wellness.
And besides breathing, because we're all doing that, what's the next actionable step you'd tell anybody to take action on today?
I would say, which we didn't talk about, but sleep is to really focus on. So breathing is the foundation of the physiology of everything else. So I would say optimizing sleep so that you can eat well and you can exercise and you can manage your nervous system. I think really trying to focus on the best sleep hygiene that you can. Well, to keep it simple right now.
Okay. Well, you opened
a can of worms.
Yeah. So sleeping posture, what are the best ones?
So I do try to base this off sleep studies of where are people breathing best in their position. But I will say, just because of gravity, sleeping on your back is typically going to create many times obstruction. So sleeping on the right side or left side is best for most people. And sometimes they might intuitively know that right side is better than left side. They wake up feeling a little less congested. They feel a little better. It really does depend on the person, but I'd say sides for sure.
Well, I think it's the womb posture. It's the posture that we're in when we're in the womb.
Oh,
and, and I think that it's innate in us that laying on our side in a cradled position is probably comforting to us, and it's a position of ease. And I think that when you think about flow, you want to go back to what's comfortable, especially when you're sleeping, and it probably does have better outcomes for people. And I tell people this all the time because I come from the chiropractic biophysics world, and posture matters. And when people put their head out far, I tell them to take a deep breath. Damn near impossible. And then I tell them to put their head back over their shoulders and take the same deep breath. Which one's easier? And I say, vital lung capacity really matters with our posture, right? And I think just tying it back to breathing, we also want to be in the right position of posture to make sure that our vital lung capacity is being met. And that's also a stage of anti-aging when it comes to long-term health. Is vital lung capacity is one of the markers that people will look at to see how long will you be alive. And I think breathwork is one of those cool things that we can tie into that. So really cool stuff. I don't think there's any questions that came through, but if people want to learn more about you, they want to work with you, and they want to be a part of your community, how do we send them your way?
Sure. You can go to our website, which is themovementparadigm.com. And then you could also visit us on all of the social media platforms at The Movement Paradigm. Lots and lots of education, lots of vagus nerve exercises, breathing exercises, all kinds of things to help you move and live better.
So the website is themovementparadigm.com. The handles for Facebook are at The Movement Paradigm Integrative Health, and the Instagram handle is at The Movement Paradigm. The book is Rise Up. And it's been a real pleasure having you on with us today.
Thank you so much to both of you. It's been great.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for your time and your energy and sharing so much with our audience. There was so much value here. And like I said, I think we planted the seeds for at least having you on at least one more time, if not a couple more times. There's so much to unpack here. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you everybody for, tuning in and listening. Please remember to share, the episode, share the subscribe link, help us with our movement to help people get better faster, get voices out there that might not have voices otherwise, and really help shine a light, be a beacon in this dark, dark world. Dr. Arianne Missimer, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing so much with our audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a lot to learn, and I think that people are going to find a lot of value from this episode. And like Dr. Jason says, please comment, like, and share. Hit the big heart button there, and follow Dr. Arianne at those handles I gave you earlier. And once again, her website is themovementparadigm.com. Go check her out, see what's going on, and let her help you breathe a little easier. Thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
All right. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning into the Get Better Faster podcast. Join the movement and visit getbetterfasterpodcast.com to find all our episodes, micro content, and resources to help you and your family get better faster.